Well, I'm absolutely gutted. My new mill has had to go back, and it appears that the paint problem on the head was a bit more extensive than what I originally thought. And after discussing it with Archaeoro Trade, it was agreed that the best course of action would be to return it. So it's gone back on a pallet, and it appears that I've just been unlucky, and the factory's messed up, and I've got a bad one. And hopefully I'll be able to get a new one in the future, because it did really tick all the boxes for me. It was a great mill to use, and I'm really sorry I had to return it. But in true ARC form, you know, they recognise that you know, if a customer's got a problem, they do try and sort it out. So they're really good at customer satisfaction, and I do feel sorry for them really, because they've been put in a really difficult position. But anyway, in this video what I'm going to be doing is machining the main crankshaft bushings for the Jerry Howell Farm Boy hit and miss engine. Okay, so I've already machined the tops for where the bearings fit and marked them up, and I've super glued them onto the rear frame so they're spot on correct position. And my plan is, for each of the holes, is to put it on the mill and drill through with a number 29 drill bit right through. Once I've done that for one hole, on the very same hole I'm going to drill through with a number 19 drill bit, which is a clearance drill for this 8x32 UNC bolt, and I'll just drill through the top bit and stop. I don't know whether anybody's, I guess lots of people use these, but for those people who don't, this is a fantastic set of tables to show you all sorts of things, but one very useful one is the actual standard drill sizes and the equivalents. Very, very useful information in that. Anyway, just to get back to this, once I've drilled the top bit, I'll then tap 8x32 UNC thread. Once I've done that, I'll do all the other three in exactly the same way. Okay, so I used an edge finder to find the centre using both the X and the Y axis, and it positioned me spot on in the middle where I've marked up. Now I've moved the X axis this way by 0.4 of an inch, and that's put me spot on my mark that I previously made. So what I need to do first of all is centre drill. And now with the drill, tapping drill size. Now I've just realised my mistake. I shouldn't have gone right through. I should have only gone partially down here. But anyway, I'll try and get it right for the other ones. Well, I don't know, I just could kick myself for going right through there. Total lack of concentration. I've got my mind on other things. But anyway, so this clearing drill, this needs to go to a depth of 0.45 of an inch. Well, I think it's going to be one of those days today. I now realise I've not got a hex key for that. But anyway, what I'm going to do for the other 3 holes is follow exactly the same process, apart from, hopefully, drilling right through it. So on the lower bit I'll drill to a depth of 0.4 of an inch. Now I'm going to leave that bolt in there just to provide extra support, just in case. And likewise, when I get to the back bit, I'll leave a bolt in there. Once I've done all 4, I'll take the bolts out. I'll apply a bit of heat to break the glue joint, and then I'll use some nail varnish remover to clean up the faces. And I think once I've done that, I'm going to have a bit of a rest, and I'll get back to it tomorrow when I've got my brain into proper gear. So another day and things are starting to look up. So what I did, before breaking the glue joint, I put some witness marks on the top and the frame, just to make sure that when I reassemble it, these tops are going back on the right sides. And I cleaned the faces up with acetate and rebolted them down. So I'm happy with that so far. Now, in terms of the hole I made, I filled it in, if I can find it. Must be good if I can't find it. Oh, there it is. And what I did was, I was thinking back to my wood turning days, and what I used to do is introduce aluminium into the wood. And the way I used to do that is using some epoxy resin. So mix some epoxy resin up and then put some aluminium powder in. And then I've just filled the hole, left it overnight, and that's worked perfectly. Well, you can still see a bit of it, but better than JB Weld. JB Weld would dry a bit darker than that. So what I need to do now is work out how to drill some 1/2 inch diameter holes right through here. Make sure they're totally aligned and perpendicular with the base. And what I've decided to do is drill a hole through the base. Now I can sort that out later on, so it won't be obvious that I've done that. I can peg it or something. And my idea is I'm going to use this right angled block, and I'm going to stick that on the milling table, and I've got a parallel there, and the idea being I'm going to bolt that on there, make sure it's all level, and then I'm going to start drilling through there. So that's the plan. Okay, so I've just put the angle plate on the mill, and I'm just checking that it's at right angles to the table. That's looking pretty good. Now if I move the head down, there's just a little bit of run out there, 3 thou over the length. But I don't think there's a lot I can do about that. I've checked that all the surfaces are clean, and they are, so I think I'll look to mount the frame on now. So I've bolted the frame onto the angle plate, and I'm just checking to see if there's any run out on the side. So over the length of that, it's about 1.5 thou out, so I think that's good enough, to be honest. Okay, so I've used an edge finder to find the centre. I've centre drilled. Now it's a matter of drilling right through and gradually working up to, let me see, 31/64 of an inch. Once I've done that, I can then ream to 1/2 inch. Okay, so I'll continue to work through the drill sizes and then I'll get back to you once I'm ready to ream. Well, I'm really pushing the limits of my little mini mill. Height wise, I've actually had to grind about 1/4 of an inch off the end of this reamer for it to fit in. But anyway, we'll see how we go. Well, that felt nice. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this setup exactly as it is, so everything's locked in terms of the X and Y axis, so this can't move. And once I've made the bushes in the lathe, I can make the bushes to fit, and then I'll do a final reaming through on the mill, so that should make sure that everything's spot on. Okay, so the bearings, aka bushings, are pretty straightforward, made out of bronze, 2 sizes, one for the governor side and one for the non-governor side, the only difference being the actual width. So what I'll do first of all is I'll centre drill, or rather I'll face off and then centre drill, and then I'll open up a hole to a maximum of 23/64, which is 1/64 less than the reaming size, 3/8 of an inch. And I'll go to a depth of around about 0.6 of an inch on this one. Once I've done that, bearing in mind I'm not going to ream at this stage, I'll then turn the outside diameter down to 0.675 of an inch, which will give me this width here. And then for this area here, I'll turn it down to 1/2 an inch. Once I've done that, I'll then part it off, and then I'll repeat the same for this one. Then we'll put the bushes in the actual frame, and then I'll ream on the milling machine. So this outside diameter first of all needs to be reduced to 0.675 of an inch. Now it's already 0.843 of an inch, so take 0.675 off that and you get to 0.168, divide it by 2 and you get to 84 thou. So I need to take it around about 84 thou off here. Now I don't have any of these flash digital scales on this lathe, but what I have got is this dial up here for the cross slide, and it works a treat, to be honest. So if I just start the lathe up and make a cut, so if I go 10th hour at a time, So I'll carry on until I get down to dimension and then I'll get back to you. Okay, so now I need to reduce this down to ½ inch, but I'm actually going to go to 0.501, so a thou over, just so I can get a nice tight fit in the frame before I ream it. And I need to go along a distance of 0.530 of an inch. So using my dial, and I've got my stop here. So my stop's pushed up, but it's loose. So I need to go to 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, 1, 2, 3. So I'll lock the carriage stop, and then I'll move that out of the way, and I'll put the tip of the tool on the workpiece, zero that dial, and then I'll reduce it by the appropriate amount. But I'll do all that off camera. And now I just need to part it off 0.08 of an inch from this edge. Okay, so this is the larger of the two bushings, and I reckon it's 3/10 of a thou over ½ inch, and that is really good fit into the frame. Now I did mess up on the smaller one because I went a thou over ½ inch, and that was too big, so I had to put it on a mandrel and just take a bit off. But this is pretty much perfect. So I'll go over to the mill, put this in the frame with the other one, and then we can ream it. And what I'm also going to do is I'll put some witness marks on these, so I know exactly which orientation round they need to go back in after they've been reamed. Okay, so the tops are screwed down. I've put witness mark there, you probably can't see it, and a witness mark there, and we'll give it a go with this reamer. So, fingers crossed, that's got it. Well, that was an interesting little exercise, and the instructions in the documentation just don't cover that aspect of the build at all. So I had to sort of work out a method based upon my previous experience of making my other 3 engines, and hopefully I got it right. This bit of test bar turns quite well, a little bit tight in a spot, but I'm sure it'll run in okay. The only thing outstanding is a need to drill and tap some holes for some oilers, but I'll leave that until I get to the build stage. But all in all, I'm very happy with that, and I think my next video will cover the building of the crankshaft, which would make some sense, wouldn't it? So I hope you like the result, and I hope to see you later.